1, 2. See, I go on a 1, 2, Warren. I don't go on a 1, 2, 3. I go on a 1, 2. Welcome, everyone, to the big show. Another episode of Inside Curling. I think it's show number 3. But it's going to be our most popular show, not just these 3, but it's going to be our most popular show all year. We got an incredible deal coming up for you shortly. We do it all with, of course, with our 2 World Curling Hall of Famers, Kevin Martin and Heck Gervais. No, I'm... Of course, Warren Hansen. We couldn't do it without you guys listening, and of course, we couldn't do it without you, Kevin, Warren. Thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. We've got In the House, okay? I'm going to leave that for a sec because we're going to start with our guest. Also, the PointsBet Invitational just finished. We're going to get a wrap on that from Calgary, the mixed doubles series. We're going to get a little wrap on that. Was in Vernon. The Grand Slam, first one of the year, is in Prince Edward Island and has a ton to do with our guest. Hot Rock Topics. Is stick curling going to be the new pickleball? What do you think, Kev?
Well, that could be. We'll have to see. Pickleball is a lot of fun.
Yeah, welcome to the old side, Kev. People don't know that you took up pickleball, okay?
That's right.
Okay. I don't know about pickleball. I think it's just glorified ping pong. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. We got a listener who wants to know how to buy equipment in our mailbag for their young kid. Another team made a decision to go with just 3 guys. What's up with that? Okay, there's a bunch of that coming down the pipe. I think the first one was a Dean, wasn't it, Kev? He went with 3 and they kept winning.
They kept winning,
Gushu.
exactly.
And the Goo. So,
yeah.
Anyways, and what's happening around the curling world? PointsBet Invitational took place in Calgary, involved most of the top teams in Canada. We're going to talk about that. Oh, sorry. I'm at the show right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We can edit.
You can edit that. Yeah, the big edits, our first edit. So if you've been listening to our show for the last few years, you will know that the Grand Slam of Curling, which is, of course, the biggest league going, okay, in the world. And it got sold. It got taken over by a group called Curling Group. And it's with Nic Sulsky. And we had Nic, I love this guy. We had him on right when they announced that. And we had a great interview about it. And Nic gave us the greatest teaser of ever going. Big things coming down the pipe, baby. Big things on the horizon. Like I said, it's the biggest teaser ever. It was a year-long teaser.
Hey, it wasn't a year. Come on, man. Jeez.
And I'm saying, Nic and I were just talking off air because I used to go, where is this guy? Where's Nic? Where's Nic? He just gave me shit. He said, excuse my language. He just says, I put you up on our wall. There are a bunch of things happening with the Grand Slam of Curling that have already taken or are about to take place. Nic Sulsky, our guest today, owner of the Curling Group. Nic, how are you, man? We got a bunch of stuff we want to talk to you about. How's it going, my friend?
It's going good, Jim. It's great to be back. But officially, I'm not the owner of the Curling Group because we raised a bunch of money last week. So now the Curling Group has a whole cabal of exciting owners. I'm just a fortunate individual like that gets to have those 3 fancy letters at the back of my name, I guess, CEO. But hey, I'm not much of a title guy myself.
No, I don't think you are. But yeah, you feel like you're a friend. As soon as you talk to you for 10 minutes, I feel like I met a new friend. Nic, Warren and I were talking this morning. There was a bunch of things that come down. Where do you want to start, Nic, with all the changes that's coming up with the tour?
I mean, I think that let's face it, I'm sitting here in Charlottetown. The first slam starts tomorrow. There's an unbelievable amount of energy in the building, and as of tomorrow, I mean, we're launching a new app. We're relaunching the website. We're launching a new store, the good rock shop, and most importantly, I think for a lot of your fans, we're going to be pioneering the access to games. We're going to make available every single game, every single sheet, every single draw, every single day of the slam for the first time, and we're going to let people from all around the world watch it, right? I mean, I think that's the most important thing that I've learned around this sport over the last year and a half is curling has a massive global audience, but literally up until tomorrow, most of them had no way to watch the slams. Well, hell, you can't build a sport unless you let fans around the world actually watch it. So, tomorrow, I believe tomorrow's the beginning of the future. So I could not be more excited.
Yeah, not just the future of curling, the future of all sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that. I mean, we've seen streaming, especially in the number of opportunities that some of the secondary niche sports now have to get their, to get the action in front of fans. So, technology is definitely innovated to the point where, the availability of fans to watch sports and engage is absolutely enhanced. And, tomorrow is the first step in curling's journey. And will tomorrow be perfect? God, no. But it's going to be a heck of a lot better than it's ever been before, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, before I flip it over to the boys, Nick, I'm getting a sense right away that, you're all in with the sport of curling, like you said, that you're going to be a go-to guy when it comes to things like how are we going to improve the game? Do we need to make some changes? We've been talking about that for 5 years, about 10 ends, 8 ends, 3 guys, 2 guys, whatever. People are going to begin to listen to you like they already have. When you look forward, Nick, is there things that you think the game that should change in the game besides the broadcast side?
I'm not. I've said this before. I'm not a curler. I'm blessed to have some incredible people who understand the curling industry and understand the game of curling on my team. I've learned how to listen. Now, I will say I spent 4 days in Montreal at World Curling Congress, and Warren was there as well, and that was a pretty big eye-opening experience to me as well. And I'll be completely and totally candid. I think that the biggest change that needs to come with this sport isn't with the sport. We need to collectively start thinking business-wise. We need a business strategy to help grow this sport. I actually don't think anyone in this sport up until recently has actually thought about it the way that they should to be able to grow this as a business. To grow this sport, we need to generate revenue, and that revenue trickles down. Now, we need to be able to support the curlers. We need to be able to create an avenue for fans to engage with the sport, because ultimately the only sustaining revenue stream that this sport is ever going to have is through sponsors and brands who want to partner with this sport. Well, they need eyeballs, and those eyeballs have to come from fans, and that begins with what we're going to be starting to do tomorrow. We need fans to have access to the games, right? And I think, there's a lot of traditional thinking that has dominated the sport of curling over the last 60 years. But I mean, even over the last 3 or 4 years, as I've started to understand the opportunities around this sport, I think there's a lot of great thinkers. And there's a lot of people within the curling industry and a lot of curlers who have had a lot of great ideas over the years, but candidly, there hasn't been the opportunity to take advantage and to actually start building on those ideas. And what we want to do, and what our incredible investors want us to do, is to help provide that launching off point for this sport to take the next big step. Because ultimately 90 million people watched the World Championships last year around the world. 90 million people. Yeah, they put that up, and Warren was there at the World Congress. Yeah. That was one of their big announcement points. Like, that's a big number. Curling is a global it's a global sport. There's a big audience for curling, and yet up until recently there haven't been a lot of international business interests who are focused on building the sport and building the monetization funnels, so to speak, of all of the vertically integrated opportunities that the sport provides from a merchandising perspective. Forget it's the streaming, which is going to be huge. Streaming, merchandising, data, gambling. Like, there's and the marketability of the incredible curlers. There's so much opportunity.
Right. The one thing, Nick, I suspect you're finding, and we're talking about streaming. I worked in the radio biz and Nelson rating. It's antiquated rating systems, that have been in the past. The great thing about the streaming, Nick, I would think, to attract sponsors is it's completely measurable. How many people
Not only
watch
is it measurable, but its measurability is also regional. So we and sponsors and partners will be able to identify the number of users that are engaging with this content in specific regions, and you'll be able to drill down even further to get demographic information on who those consumers are. Because when you're watching, when you're engaging with content online, all of the data machinery that exists in the kind of online ecosystem contributes to the amount of information that we're able to mine, that then we can go and deliver to sponsors to say, hey, if you want to appeal to a 27-year-old male in Alberta who likes fishing, who also happens to like curling, well, now all of a sudden we have that data, you know?
Amazing. Warren's champing at the bit here. Yeah, I think he has a question or two for you. I think he does. Go ahead, Warren.
Yes, we've got lots of things we can talk about, but we're on the streaming end of things, so let's get a little more detail out there so people begin to understand this more as to how they access and what it all costs, etc. So you've indicated initially it's going to be free of charge to Canadians. What's your intent? Is that for the year or just this event, or what's your plan there?
It's a really good question. Ultimately, we are investing our own money to produce all of these streams, and we want to deliver this content not just to Canadians, but to folks all over the world. The question of when and if and when we will charge people for that content is an ongoing conversation, but I'll tell you straight up, our goal isn't to generate, like, our ultimate revenue goal isn't from the user. We believe that the real money is going to come from potential international media partners, networks, other streaming platforms, and or brands. And at the end of the day, as soon as you put a paywall on content, you limit the amount of eyeballs that will engage with that content. And I think right now what curling needs more than anything else is eyeballs, needs access, and we are playing the long game, not the short game. I don't care about the amount of revenue we generate this event or next event. I don't care about the amount of revenue we generate this year. I care about where we are looking 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and we will build properly to make sure that we're able to monetize the sport properly then, not tomorrow.
Yeah. Dead on. I think you remember being in the World Curling Federation meeting and some of the issues they're having. I think one of those issues is caused because they put up a paywall
100%.
right away. And as you indicated, as soon as you put up a paywall, you're limiting, you can't build your numbers. So it kind of becomes a catch-22. And once you've done that, the paywall goes up, it's hard to go back. So you're also going to do every sheet of ice from start to finish. So in Canada, if you want to go on stream, you can pick up every game, even once Sportsnet becomes involved. How about commentary? Are you doing one sheet, or what's the plan there?
So we are out of the. So we'll take tomorrow as an example. Well, even when Sportsnet, as you guys know, they come on and they pick up Thursday through Sunday. So for Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be running all four sheets of the tier 1. And we are going to have one featured sheet each draw, and we're going to have commentators on that one sheet. We have John Cullen and Brent Lang and Tyler George. The three of them, it's going to be a rotation. But John and Brent are going to be doing at least 2 each day. Tyler's going to be doing a U.S. game most likely each day as well. So, candidly, we'll probably just start with 3 of the 4 draws. We'll have a featured commentary track, but we're just tomorrow's just the start. I'm a big believer in building and learning and iterating and getting better. And the reality is, I think running before you can walk, I mean, it's a very popular saying, but I think that's a big mistake. And literally tomorrow we're starting to walk, right? I mean, I would even argue tomorrow we're crawling. Let's just start crawling. Let's figure out how it's going to work. We have an incredible production team. Both home team is the only one producing tomorrow, and I gotta say, I'm sitting in the room right now, and there's like 16 guys, or I don't know how many. There's 12 guys. I'm not good at math. I just talk. And
A bunch.
there's so much technology. There's using words I don't understand most of the words they're using. And so I want to get through tomorrow. I want to get through Wednesday. I want to get through this week, and then we have a month until NISCU, and NISCU is going to get better. St. John's is going to be even better than that, right? So I think that what we want to do is we want to learn. We want to listen to what the fans have to say, because not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to understand. Not everyone's going to know where to click and how to click and what to listen to and what not to listen to. But at the end of the day, the decision is, or the thing that people have to realize is, last year they had no options. They couldn't see anything. As of tomorrow, they're going to be able to see them. So, yeah, are they going to have to go to their computer or their phone? Are they going to have to cast to their television if they want to see it on their TV? Yeah. But you know what? Hell, it's better than nothing. They actually get to watch whatever team they want. They can follow their favorite curlers for the first time ever. They're not beholden to a broadcaster in Canada to select who they're going to watch. And for those fans who are outside of Canada, because I know, based on what what Warren, what you and Kevin and Jim have said, you guys have a big international audience. Well, this isn't just about Canada. Canadian curling fans have been able to watch the slams. Well, what we're doing is more for the international audience, candidly, than for the Canadian audience, because the audience that's growing around the world, I believe, is really going to be the foundation of where this sport is going to explode. So that's what I'm really excited for. I'm excited for the Japanese fans and the Swedish fans and the Scottish fans and the American fans to be able to actually watch their favorite teams play starting tomorrow. And then we're going to hear, and then hopefully we'll get better and better, and we'll see. We'll find other distribution channels for this incredible content moving forward, I
want to ask you one more question about this. It's a little technical before I flip it to Kevin. And this, in my memory of any sport, is going to be the first time that I can think of where you've got a linear television production operation going on with the streaming being done in the same building of other games. And I'm just wondering, how does that work with Sportsnet? Because right now when we talk about numbers, revenue, sponsors, advertisers, that's all coming through pretty much from the Sportsnet side of the equation. Now, when you bring in stream, you're probably not going to increase audience. You're going to take from them. So how does this work with regard to advertising and sponsors? Are you running stuff on your stream as well for all these Canadian sponsors, or exactly how's that all work?
We are opening up the opportunities now for sponsors to get engaged with the streams, and there will be. You'll see we do have a sponsor that's excited about the streams, but. I mean, at the end of the day, Warren, we officially took control of the Grand Slam of curling on June 30th. It is now September 30th. That's 3 months, right? So in 3 months, we've raised over $5 million US. We're about to launch a new app. We've rebranded the website it's launching. We have built a merch store, and we are about, for the first time, to unveil a new streaming protocol for this sport. So Sportsnet is we've been busy, Jim. That's why I didn't reach back out to you, man. I've been freaking busy, man. But
you're coming through with the promises, baby. I'll tell you.
We're trying. We're just starting. But Warren, to answer your question, Sportsnet is one of, because I'm sitting in the room with my home team live partners, I won't say that Sportsnet is our most important partner. I'll say they're one of our most important partners, and we're all in this together. So for Canadian fans are going to be directed to the Sportsnet featured broadcasts starting on Thursday, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you have the opportunity to watch a broadcast that is commentated by the legendary Kevin Martin, I mean, are you going to want to watch a stream without any commentator, or are you going to want to listen to Kevin Martin? I'll tell you. I mean, and it's not just Kevin; it's Mike, and it's and Jennifer, and Rob. So and Robbie as well. So the reality is, for Canadians who want to engage with a game that isn't the featured Sportsnet game, well, now they're going to be able to. Now they won't be able to hear the commentators that they've gotten used to, but they'll be able to watch it, right? And hey, 2 years from now, maybe by the end of this year, we're going to be in a position where we're going to have a commentator on every single sheet. I see the day we'll have different versions of commentators similar to the Manning cast. Like, the thing is, we're not reinventing the wheel. What we want to do is pick different parts of the F1 cars that other sports have built, and we're going to pick and choose the best things, and we're going to try and bring them into the sport. But yeah, to answer your question, Warren, the goal is for everyone in Canada to watch the Sportsnet feed on SportsNet or Sportsnet Plus, and then Canadian fans can watch all the other streams via our app or website, and then international fans can watch via our app or website. And the app will be ready to download in the Apple and Google store as of Tuesday. So it'll be it's a big day, lots of things going on.
So just before I flip it to Kevin, so right now if fans go to the Grand Slam website, they can access the stream through there.
Yeah,
can they not?
the website and the app. They'll just have to click one button. There's no information that'll be needed. There's no paywall. You just basically click a button, and you'll be going into a content hub that's being hosted by our home team partners. They'll see all 4 streams, and they'll be able to click on whatever stream that they want to watch.
Kevin.
Well, Nick, hey, thanks a lot. And first of all, congratulations
Thanks, man.
on. Well, I reached out to you the other day too, because this is like every time I go on any social media, there's another new thing and another new thing and another announcement. And so, congratulations.
Thank you.
And when you're talking about the commentary, obviously you got Brent Lang, who knows as much of the game as anybody. But I've actually worked a lot with Tyler. We did the Olympics together last time, and then John Cullen and I, we did an event together. I don't even know if you know this. In Oakville, Ontario, we did an entire event together.
You and Cullen.
So you've got it.
Oh,
with
that's
Cullen,
awesome.
absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you've got a great bunch there, and congratulations.
Thanks.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about the fan experience inside the building, because you explained everything really well with the streaming and all the sheets with which you and I, that goes back to a conversation we had, oh geez man, at least a year ago. I was walking down the road down south, and you and I talked about trying to get every game streamed, and boy, 3 months and you've already got that happening, so that's great. Your first 3 events here this year, great situation with PEI, one of the friendliest places in the world, Nisku, which will be fantastic, and I still haven't been inside the building yet, but I hear it's incredible in Nisku. And then, of course, St. John's will be a nut house, as it always is. The fan experience, I'd love to hear your thoughts on inside the building and what you envision as to curling with the live crowd and the changes that I believe the word needed is the right word.
And I'll be honest, that's one of the biggest kind of outstanding questions for us right now. Ultimately, what we wanted to do first and foremost was capture the content so fans from all over the world could watch it, right? Because the reality is, with the types of arenas that we're playing in right now, call it 5,000 just for an easy round number, I think the experience for the 5,000 fans that are going to be sitting here, later this week, and in Nisku and in St. John's is very important to us. But, the 5 million fans that I want to appeal to all over the world right now, I want to make sure that we can nail that. Now, we're going to be trying a lot of things over the next 2 months, over the next 3 events. Some of the things are going to work. Some of the things aren't going to work, right? But we got to try them. As far as, and we've talked about this before, I am obsessed with trying to figure out a way to bring the energy of the après curl, the energy of the patch into the venue. I'm obsessed with what we've seen in golf with the Waste Management Open, or the RBC at the Canadian Open with the, with the whatever the rink hole.
The rink hole.
I'm obsessed with how can that take shape? How can we integrate that into curling events? And and some other folks draw the corollary to drinking. Now it's not just about drinking. Now don't get me wrong, having a couple drinks won't hurt, right? But it's not about drinking. It's about trying to get the curling fan to understand they're allowed to yell, they're allowed to scream, they're allowed to cheer, right? We're going to be doing a bunch of things to try and get them to understand that this is not this is not supposed to be a library, right? I don't know if I've said this story to you guys, But I remember that one of the Briars like a year and a half ago in London. I was at the Briar with Johnny Morris and Donovan Bailey, and the two of them were having an incredibly energetic conversation during one of the draws at the Briar. These are the two of the most incredible Canadian athletes over the last decade. And they're having this incredible conversation where Johnny Moe is telling Donovan Bailey all about curling, and this like 65-year-old woman turns around and goes, shh. She freaking shushes them in the middle of a sporting event.
That's awesome.
I don't ever
to John Morris and to Donovan Bailey.
Honestly, you're shushing Donovan Bailey and John Morris at a freaking curling event. Like
that's awesome.
That's one of those moments where it's like this sport needs to change. But it's going to take time, because at the end of the day, I want people who are bought tickets for the curling events this year to come and enjoy the curling events that they're expecting, right? But what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and program some things around the curling events. Like as an example, Jim, I don't know if you know this. Actually, Kevin and Warren, I don't know. I think I told you about this, Warren, in Montreal. On Friday night, of every Friday night at GSOC, GSOC is going to turn into GSOC, GSOK. It's going to be the Grand Slam of karaoke. Every night, every Friday night in the après curl, the curlers themselves are going to get put up on stage in front of the fans, and they're going to sing karaoke. We've made this incredible wrestling belt. We put up prize money, and we want to bring the energy of the curling world not like into the fans, and it's got to start somewhere, right? And so what we
so the first question, Nick, with that is, how do you get the microphone away from Ben Ebert?
So I think, well, it all depends on how good Benny and Brad and Mark and Brent are playing that week. Because you and I both know that if Benny's not having a good day, he ain't grabbing that microphone. And if he does, I don't know if we all want to be on the other end of what he's going to say.
He can sing, though. He can sing really
this is
well.
The thing. What I learned last spring is there's a ton of curlers who love singing, who have great voices. And at the end of the day, it's not even about the voices. It's about the energy. It's about the fun, right? And that's what's always taken me about this sport is as I've said, I'm not a curler. I've become a fan of the sport. But it was the curlers and it was the energy of the curling community that's what got me hooked, right? So how do we get folks to want to bring the energy of the après curler or the patch into the venue? Well, we have to give them the license to do that, the license to be loud, the license to have fun, right? But it will take time, right? Yeah.
It happened once before, Nick. The 2010 Olympics, and Kevin was right in the heart of it. It was like a never-ending party because a bunch of people got tickets to curling because they couldn't get them to anything else. They didn't really understand, and it became the party place of the 2010 Olympics.
But it's also the European fans, and I've heard this because if you looked at the World Championships in Switzerland last year, or last season, like the energy was unbelievable, and it's weird. It's like the European fan. They have a cheering sensibility around the sport of curling that for some reason the Canadian curling fan doesn't have. Maybe there's an age factor there, but that I think is stereotypical. I think it's more about the traditionalist kind of thinking of what going to a curling event is supposed to be like. Well, you know what? Screw that. It isn't supposed to be like anything. You know what it is? A sporting event. And what's the most important thing at a sporting event? Having fun. So you know what? Let's have fun. I don't know exactly all the elements of what the fun is going to be, but we're going to try different things. Like one of the great folks on my team, Jennifer Shell, who many of you and your audience knows. She came up with an idea. There's something called like a loud cup. So remember the vuvuzelas from the World Cup? Like years ago, and everybody hated those big horns that were being blown during the soccer. Well,
I remember that.
We're gonna be selling these loud cups, and we'll see if it takes off. Because now all of a sudden there's going to be these really loud, annoying cups that are going to be blown during curling events. Well, that might piss some people off, but other people might be like, "Well, that's kind of fun. Let's get behind this." Like, who knows? Maybe people will hate them and never sell them again, but maybe it'll catch on. You know, little things.
You know what happened, Nick, in Switzerland? You bring up a great point in Schaffhausen for the Worlds. It was the Italian crew that actually got things going in that building. But you know what happened? It was infectious. Like it when they started, then the other countries started to cheer too. And then it just went around the building, and to your point, it was a zoo. It was
just want
awesome.
permission.
I was in the building for the whole week. It was
Totally,
fantastic.
right? I mean, let's face it, we're all sports fans at the end of the day. I love going to a sporting event and feeling the crowd, like the emotion of the crowd. Like, I'm a huge music guy. I love concerts more than anything, outside of curling, of course. And the thing that I've become addicted to when I go to a live show is the crowd interacting with the music and being one, right? You're all experiencing something together. That's the same thing that happens at sports. And what we want, like watching the final of the PointsBet Invitational last night, watching Mike McEwen and Brad Gushu. There were two shots in particular that the McEwen boys hit that were just unbelievable shots. Like, I'm yelling on the couch. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what we want. We want, like, there's so many exciting moments in this sport, and we want the fans in the stands to feel like they're allowed to yell. They're allowed to scream. They're allowed to cheer. Let's face it, you go to a basketball game, what happens when the opposing player is shooting a free throw? Every single person is standing behind them, and they're yelling, and they're waving. And
doing
totally,
the dance.
man. And I've spoken to a lot of the curlers. They like that stuff. They want that stuff. So you know what, people? I challenge all of your listeners, man, to come to a curling event, regardless of whether it's a Grand Slam event or some other event, and be loud. Showcase emotion, man. The curlers want it. They truly do.
Nick, God, such a lot of stuff here, a lot of bags to unpack, a lot of ball bearings that are going. I get the sense, and I want to ask you, but before I do that, I can't help but think, as an aside, that the live golf thing should be listening to what you're saying. It sounds like you've looked at that and said, you know, we're going to take this over the top. I don't know why it reminded me of that. You're not just spitballing here. You're not throwing stuff against the wall. You've got some very lofty, successful upper management people. That what Warren was telling me this morning, I went, oh my God, who are they? You know, what? Mm-hmm. Tell us about that, your management.
Yeah, our board it's really exciting. I mean, at the end of the day, for any of your audience that's ever raised capital before, it's not easy. I mean, it took us a long time to successfully close our fundraise, and part of our fundraise also included recruiting members of our board of directors, and you know, the four others joining me on the board. One is Marianne Turk. Now, Marianne Turk, she was the president of Bell Media, and she was actually the person responsible for bringing the NFL to Bell Globe Media, to CTV and TSN. And then during that, during that process, Roger Goodell decided to steal her away from Bell and from Canada, and Marianne became the chief operating officer at the NFL. So literally the former chief operating of the NFL is the exec chair of our board. Another member of our board is a woman by the name of Nicole Musico. Nicole was one of the original partners at Redbird Capital, and then she was also the chief investment officer of CalPERS. So as we're thinking about growing the sport, you know, finding and raising private equity and venture capital is extraordinarily important, and she's done it at the highest levels. And then another, the fourth member of our board is a gentleman by the name of John Albright, who's the managing partner at Relay Ventures, who is our lead investor. They were the first money in the score. They're one of the most legendary sports technology venture capitalists in the world. And then our final board member, which some of your audience will know, is John Kawaja. Now, John Kawaja, who was the second for Ed Wernick, right? He played second, right, Kevin?
Yeah,
sure.
Third. Yep.
Third.
Yep.
I got introduced to John Kawaja by Johnny Moe, and John introduced me to John. I had no idea John Kawaja was a curler. I got introduced to Kawaja because he, at the time, was the CEO of G4. Before that, he was the president of TaylorMade. Before that, he was the head of marketing in North America for Adidas. And Johnny was like, Kawaja was one of the guys that helped build the Love Golf Tour. I was like, oh, I want to talk to that guy. So I had a conversation with John, and I had no idea that he was a legendary curler. And so John has re-entered the sport of curling, and Kawaja's on our board as well. So, yeah, I mean, being able to learn from those four incredible experienced sports business professionals is, it's exciting for me because, I've never been a CEO before. So, I've been an athlete my entire life, and I believe that I'm very coachable, and I've learned that listening is really important. I do tend to talk a lot, so I apologize to the three of you and to your audience, because I definitely do spew a lot of words, sometimes fairly rapidly. But I've also learned how important it is to listen, and I get to listen to four of the smartest people I've ever met. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, talk a lot. I don't know another guy like that. No, sorry about that. Nick, I guess the question is, how big does this go? That's yet to be seen. I love what you said. I'm kind of a one day at a time guy, and I'm going to do this. Who the hell is Nic Sulsky? People are going to be listening to this, saying, "Who is this guy?" They're going to love what you have to say. Give us an autobiography here, Nick, of where were you born? Give us a quick. How did you get from day one to now being probably the biggest news story in all of curling?
Dude, that's
and you never curled.
No, it's true. So I don't know how to start. I mean, I was born in Montreal. I grew up in Southern California in the 80s, moved back to Montreal for high school. I went to university in Atlantic, Canada. I went to university about an hour and a half from here. I went to Mount Allison. I played rugby for a long time, played rugby pretty competitively. And then I actually got into film and television. I actually had my own kids' television show on the Family Channel. And this was back in the early 2000s. Wow. And this is when Off the Record with Michael Landsberg had they had a panel of guests on all the time, right? And they would have... And I remember one day I just emailed the producer of the show at the time, and I said, "Hey, I'm on the Family Channel, and I used to play rugby, and I played for Canada." Man, I didn't. I said I played rugby for Canada. I didn't specify that it was the Maccabea team. So technically, I played for the Canadian Jewish team. But hey, I still wore the maple leaf. Anyway, they let me on Off the Record, and one thing led to another. I ended up becoming a regular guest on Off the Record. I did it 50 times. I was actually on Michael's very last show. But then I got into into fantasy sports, and fantasy sports was an obsession of mine for a long time. So I ended up partnering with the next producer of Off the Record, and we produced the first online fantasy sports show in the world called the Fantasy Hockey Report. And similar to me not being a curler, I wasn't really even a fantasy hockey player. I was a fantasy football guy. But hey, I could talk and set the table for Scott Cullen, who a lot of your audience would know, a very kind of legendary Canadian sports and fantasy writer. And that got me into sports media and tech. I founded a bunch of startups, and I'll just, I'll skip all the way ahead. I founded a couple startups. A couple of them failed, and the reality is most startups do. And then I had a hit where I ended up co-founding and building what became the third biggest daily fantasy sports company in the U.S., a company called Monkey Knife Fight. Launched Monkey Knife Fight in September of 2018, sold it to Bally in January of 21 for a lot of money. And that was right around the time when sports betting started becoming legal in Canada. And I took a job to build the PointsBet business in Canada. And the very first deal I did was with Curling Canada. And that's what introduced me to the sport. I mean, at the end of the day, Jim, I've been a builder my entire life. I'm a startup guy. I love the challenge. And at the end of the day, and I'm going to swear right now, my life philosophy is very simple. I give zero fucks. I think that I'm not scared of making mistakes. I think I mentioned this to you guys on our first podcast. I've had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for about 16 years. I've had my back up against the wall. I know what facing that reality is like, and at the end of the day, matching that with startup failure has not stopped me from wanting to continue building. That's my favorite thing. And what I see with the sport of curling is something absolutely incredible. That's an incredible sport played by unbelievable athletes that have a total massive global audience that has been completely and totally under-monetized, has been completely and totally overlooked. I see this as a blank canvas, but not a blank canvas for me, a blank canvas for all of us. Because at the end of the day, I think what we all are going to be able to do together is bring this sport to a level that I think everyone on the inside of the sport has always kind of like marveled at. Why? Because every 4 years, the whole world falls in love with curling. They always do, right? So our goal is to basically build to Italy, Milan Cortina, and February of 2026, and knowing that the whole world's going to fall in love with this sport. The question is, what is curling going to look like after the Olympics? Now that to me is what's super exciting, and we got a lot of plans, a lot of
Clearly,
ideas.
Nick, clearly, Nick, you've accomplished nothing in your life. You have no ideas, and you're afraid to take a risk.
That pretty much sums me up, man.
that's-
And I don't drink tequila. No, I'm just kidding. That was our jokes from last time.
All right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to wear the merchandise. I'll put it on the podcast. I want the new logo. Nick, fantastic to have you on. This is great. Thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to let everyone know about this. And boy, we'll be watching. We'll be watching starting Thursday.
No,
right?
starting
It's the
tomorrow,
first
man. You
stream.
can watch the streams
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. Tell me how it works.
Tomorrow,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I think.
Yeah.
8:30.
I got Scottish background.
8:30 a.m. Atlantic. Is that the 8 a.m. Atlantic? Jeez, I guess we're waking up early tomorrow. But
So
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm not getting up at 5. Okay, I'll watch the later
no,
rounds.
but honestly, guys, thank you so much.
Nic
Thanks for
Sulsky.
having me, guys. It's such a pleasure and honor to join you three legends. Well, two legends, one guy. I'll let you guys sort that out
Kevin.
amongst yourselves.
legend in his own mind.